Good morning, YouTube. So today, what I plan on teaching you how to do is to make a Java Moss wall. So you may be wondering, like, oh well, isn't Java Moss supposed to be tied to rock or wood? Yeah, it could be. Or you can take some plastic mesh and attach it to that with some suction cups, and then eventually it will grow into a really thick wall. Now, I've already done 2 of these this morning. I'm just going to walk you through how I did this last one. So you go to your local craft store, and you buy this big, it's almost like a plastic screen. And some people will use it for like breeding live bears and whatnot, but it's in the like knitting and crocheting section, I want to say, at like Michael's Crafts or any kind of other craft store. What you want to do is you want to cut it into a cube that fits the wall of your tank, or like however big you want the sheet to be. And then you take your scissors and you cut little slits until it looks like this. So you have, 2 spaces, I guess, for mine. That seems to be working really well for me. One is almost too flimsy. So then you would take the Java Moss, if my finger was the Java Moss, you put it like this, or like that, and it'll hold it in place. And then you just, to get the suction cups in, doesn't matter what kind of suction cup you have. You could use this style, or even better, this style, which has this little end piece that gets removed really easy. These are really cheap on Amazon. You just pop that off. But anyway, you just cut the mesh until there's a big enough hole that you can barely slip these little nubbies in. And then you can just attach the suction cup to the wall. And then next, obviously, you just feed the Java Moss. Like a small clump. I generally like to get a kind of stringy clump. You just take it. This is hard with one hand. You feed it underneath. That little slit there. It's going to kind of look like that on the other side. So that allows the Java Moss to hang on to the mesh a lot, and the mesh is holding the Java Moss in, so you don't end up with it floating around. And it'll grow. There's so much of it exposed outwards. If you look at it like this, it'll actually grow really well like this, instead of like wrapping it. Because what I've done in the past is I've sewn burlap sack together, and I've it in burlap sack, and it just took forever for it to grow. So I'm trying this method. If you like this method, you can try it as well. I found it on an online forum, and I thought it was amazing, so I'm just sharing some knowledge with you guys. And I'll tune back in when I've finished this mat. Alright, so here's the finished product. You can see it's a little sparse on this side, but it'll grow in. Pretty floofy. I try to force it all to the front. You need very little in the back, because that back stuff's just anchoring it, and that stuff's going to get kind of choked out of light anyways, so it's better to have more in the front where it's exposed to the light. Okay, one last look. So we've got the one mat here, and it spans from corner to corner. Got that back mat. That goes from pretty much each outlet pipe for my under gravel filter and end. And then I put in this little mat here that we just worked on right up in the front. And eventually this tank will be a fry tank. I'm going to be attaching this Anubias to a log or to those clay pots. I haven't really decided yet. And I've got just some clippings in here. I got some water sprite and hornwort and some Eladia that I'm going to be selling, as well as just floating in here. And it's just kind of a holding tank for these corridoras while I wait to move them. Oh yeah, and that crypt is going into a shrimp tank eventually. But yeah, so that's just how I did the Java Moss walls. Have a great day, guys, and tank on.